Ever since we got Xfinity Mobile, the whole family now has the fastest mobile service. Back in my day, we didn't have it nearly as good.
Oh yeah? Back in my day, you couldn't even stream outside the house. I don't like to think about it.
Switch to Xfinity Mobile, the fastest mobile service with 5G and millions of Wi-Fi hotspots. Get the best price for 2 unlimited lines with 5G compared to the lowest price plans of the top 3 carriers. Just $30 a line per month. Visit Xfinity.com/fastestmobile to learn more. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Unlimited intro service and Xfinity Internet required. Taxes and fees extra. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes of usage. Data thresholds may vary.
This is Optimal Relationships Daily, episode 1736. The one question you can ask to stop fighting with your partner, by Dr. Margaret Rutherford of drmargaretrutherford.com. Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday, and thanks for joining me once again on ORD. I'm Greg Audino, your host and narrator, and the article I will be reading for you today is really terrific. It offers a wonderful reset that you can use when you're finding yourself arguing with or even building tension towards your partner. You are going to learn how to stop things before they get out of hand, and Dr. Margaret is going to teach you how. So let's jump in and start optimizing your life. The one question you can ask to stop fighting with your partner, by Dr. Margaret Rutherford of drmargaretrutherford.com. You love your partner and you value your relationship, but the two of you have developed a habit of falling into fights more and more frequently. It may have even grown so problematic that you shudder when you hear them pull into the driveway, anticipating the inevitable argument. Whether it's financial stress, political differences, cultural divides, hard parenting decisions, you name it, you're probably going to argue about it. What's over-personalization? Maybe some of that arguing is due to what I call over-personalization, when you take too personally what your partner has done or said, or not done or not said. You make their behavior and choices about you. If he loved me more, then he would ... If she respected me more, she wouldn't have ... If he really cared about the kids and me, he would ... You interpret their actions to be about you, maybe even to the point you think that they are intentionally attempting to hurt you. This is your mind going on an unnecessary rampage, deciding your partner is the enemy, and you have to protect yourself in any way possible. In reality, nothing could be further from the truth, unless you've got a far worse problem. Happily, there is something that can be done. In fact, all you have to do is ask yourself one question. The question that will help. There is a question that will help you step out of the fighting pattern you're in if you so choose. Before you allow yourself to sink into any negative thinking, like the questions I mentioned, ask yourself the following. What do I know about my partner that would explain their behavior that has nothing to do with me? It's so simple, but can truly be an eye-opener. Here's a fairly recent example from my own life. One early spring Saturday, my husband and I were shopping at our local grocery store. He decided he wanted to buy some hanging plants for the deck. We had cold groceries in the car, and I had a bunch of stuff on my to-do list for the weekend. But I wanted to be nice, and I figured he would be quick. So I told him, sure, why not? And we headed to the nursery. What I didn't consider was the sheer volume of plants that were available. He ended up spending what was, for me, a tremendously long time comparing and analyzing. Not for him, he loves nurseries. I began getting a little panicky. We were in the back of a warm tent, and the place was stuffed with colorful plants, smells galore. Tossed together my problem with getting squeamish in crowded places, plus a bit of claustrophobia, and with my impatience about the time it was taking, I needed to get out of there. Thus, some serious marital discord was potentially in the making. My husband could tell I was getting agitated. I was passively aggressively sighing and looking at my watch, but he was having a marvelous time, being the horticulturalist in the family. Tension was building. What if he'd thought, well, if she really cared about how good of a time I'm clearly having in this innocent excursion, she wouldn't want to leave, ... Or I decided, if he really understood me, he would remember that this kind of situation makes me panicked, ... And we would have been off to the races. Instead, I walked over and I said something like, I'm freaking out a little. Sorry. Take your time. And he responded, it'll just be another 5 minutes. Thanks. Disaster avoided. Following my own advice. Why did I handle it that way? because I followed my own advice. I didn't take it personally, and I asked myself the simple question, what do I know about him that would explain his behavior that has nothing to do with me? He was immersed in an activity that he was thoroughly enjoying. Not only was he not thinking about me or my panic, it would never occur to him that I would get panicked in a darn greenhouse. He knows I don't do big box stores very well, but in a large covered tent outside, surrounded by beautiful greenery, he wouldn't have given it a thought. It's amazing how in small situations like this, things can escalate and huge fights can take place. I know. I've had them. It takes remembering and practicing. So, next time you feel yourself getting irritated, you can practice. Let's say you've asked your partner to call you when he reaches his destination, and it's 2 hours past the time he's supposed to get there. You start to feel abandoned, begin to doubt your importance to them, and mentally begin to compose a scathing argument. Stop and ask yourself the question, what do I know about my partner that would explain their behavior that has nothing to do with me? Well, he's forgetful. He forgets to charge his cell phone, and it's probably dead. Or he gets really involved in whatever's going on around him. You're always the one who remembers to call, and you've had to remind him to make calls. He'll remember when he's going to bed. Anything but taking it personally. Or the next time your partner overdraws the checking account. Instead of immediately saying that she's doing that to aggravate you, that she has no respect for how hard you work and is being selfish, stop. Ask the question. Remember that she grew up in a home where she was not taught anything about finances, and that she admitted that she struggles with money and needs help. Probably not from you, by the way, but a more objective teacher. You don't wake up and hope you can make your partner miserable. Most of us want to get along and have the best assumed of us to be given the benefit of the doubt. Offer the same to your partner. It's an easy question to ask yourself, so give it a try. It might make a world of difference. You just listened to the post titled, The One Question You Can Ask to Stop Fighting with Your Partner by Dr. Margaret Rutherford of drmargaretrutherford.com.
National Geographic presents.
What I'm asking you to do is dangerous. You need to take your time to think it through.
No, I don't. What do I do?
We can't save everyone. But if I don't try, I don't think I'll be able to live with myself.
What are we supposed to do?
Some stood by.
Anything. You have to.
She stood up.
There has to be a line.
Belle Powley is Meep Geese.
There has to be me for this to work.
A Small Light limited series premieres Monday, May 1st at 9. Stream on Hulu and Disney+.
So, you open Google Chrome on your phone, you're hunting for a super rare first edition vinyl of a band you're obsessed with, when you're supposed to be working. But this site you tapped on seems pretty shady. And Daryl from IT just jumped up from his desk. Oh no, he's coming your way. It's a good thing built-in malware protection keeps you safe and sound. Not from Daryl, though. Sorry. There's no place like Chrome. Download Google Chrome on your phone.
And definitely a great question to keep in mind. Thanks so much to Dr. Margaret for sharing. Sometimes, though, if we're really having a hard time separating ourselves from their actions, like perhaps if you are someone who has constantly been victimized or gaslit in your life, it can be easier to sympathize with your partner when first asking this question of yourself. So you might look back on when you've upset your partner or others, even though you weren't doing it deliberately at all. Think of those times that they got really flustered and confused as to why you were treating them that way. And you might have even felt shocked that they took it that way. Maybe you felt anger that you were being accused of being inconsiderate. If you can sit and reflect on how you've been on the other side of the equation, you might relate more closely to how the same thing could be happening in reverse. It's a common occurrence to make something about us when it really isn't, particularly if it hits one of our pain points. But it can definitely be neutralized if we think about how easy it is to be on the other side of the equation, and when we might have been there. But that's going to do it for this article, everyone. As always, a big thanks to you for listening and making another episode possible. I hope you enjoyed this one and that you took something from it. And be sure to tune into our weekly bonus episode before you go. That's live now in your feed as well, number 1737. I hope to see you there, where your optimal life awaits.